Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast, or the audio version of the sports page. It's Friday, October 30th, and I'm Blair Kerkhoff. Today we focus on Kansas State and Kansas. The Wildcats are an underdog at West Virginia on Saturday. Should they be? K-State's won 4 in a row and ranked number 16 in the polls. Beat writer Kellis Robinett breaks down the game and chats about Chris Klieman's evolution in thinking when it comes to special teams. After a break, beat writer Bedore shares his thoughts on KU Athletic Director Jeff Long's comments on the Les Miles show earlier this week when Long preached patience with the football program. So let's get started talking college sports. Kellis Robinett joins us. Kellis covers the K-State Wildcats for the Star and Wichita Eagle. How you doing, Kellis?
I'm doing great, Blair. It's another day of paradise here in the Little Apple.
Yeah. So Kansas State, what are they up to now? Is it, did I read this right? 16 in the polls?
They are number 16. They are the number 16 ranked team in the country. Won 4 straight games, undefeated in the Big 12 Conference. And you know what? If they beat West Virginia on Saturday, they'll be sitting pretty good for a possible spot in the Big 12 championship game. Iowa State and Oklahoma State come after that. And if they could split those 2 games and you're a Wildcats fan, you got to be feeling really good about their chances. But that all hinges on them beating West Virginia this weekend, which they are underdogs. Going to be a tough game. So if there's a swing game on the schedule, I'd say this is it.
Yeah, West Virginia beat the Wildcats last year in Manhattan in a surprise. I was a little bit surprised that the Mountaineers were favored in this game. Last I saw was 3.5. I don't know if the line has moved at all, but how do we explain that? K-State has beaten Oklahoma. They won 4 in a row. West Virginia coming off a loss to Texas Tech. How do we explain the Mountaineers being favored here?
It is a little puzzling. I noticed some Kansas State fans were a little perplexed by it, and it is understanding. One team's coming off a win, one team's coming off a loss. One team has a better record, the other doesn't. On paper, it would certainly seem that Kansas State would be the favorite here, but the game is in West Virginia, and that is typically a difficult road trip for every team, even without fans in the stands. And I think the 2 big things I think the odds makers are looking at here is that, one, K-State will be starting a freshman quarterback on the road, which is never an ideal thing, even though Will Howard has not lost a game yet as a starting quarterback. And 2, West Virginia does have a very good defense. They rank, I believe, 2nd against the run in the Big 12 and 1st against the pass, not even allowing 300 yards a game. And last year when they played Kansas State, they really did kind of overwhelm them with defense, confused them with a lot of different looks. And they're going to try to do the same thing, probably even more so against a freshman quarterback this year, just try to confuse the heck out of them and see if they can win a low-scoring game. I personally think it's a toss-up. I don't really, I'm not offended or shocked that West Virginia is favored here just because I do think a lot of the matchups favor them. But it's going to be an interesting game, and it could come down to a chess match between Chris Klieman and Neil Brown, the way they call things.
And those are 2 good coaches, I think. When those programs made those hires in the same year, I thought they both were terrific hires, and it's absolutely being borne out in Manhattan. Maybe a little bit more wait and see in West Virginia. This could be a big game for Brown at West Virginia. Hey, and so. The game in Manhattan last year, that was sort of the coming out party for Seth Doege, I believe, wasn't it? And played well and did a really nice job managing the game for West Virginia.
Yeah, that was a move that not a whole lot of people saw coming. I know I didn't. I was expecting – is it Austin Kendall, the Oklahoma transfer there? Yeah, right. I thought he was going to play in that game, but that was the time last season where I guess Neil Brown and the West Virginia coaching staff decided, you know what, things aren't going as great as we want, so let's make a change. And not only did that surprise Kansas State and help them, get an upset win on the road last year, it really provided a spark for them to finish out the year strong. That wasn't the only game they won down the stretch, and I think when you combine good defense like they have with a competent quarterback like Jared Doege clearly is, I believe I saw Pro Football Focus this week ranked him as the number 2 graded quarterback in the Big 12, which tells you a little something about how good he's been playing this season. But yeah, he's lit a fire under that team, and even though they do have 2 losses this season, I still think they're one of the more dangerous teams in the Big 12 every week, just because they do have that good defense, and whenever they can get a few things clicking on offense, they're going to be in the game with anybody.
Right. Okay. Hey, I thought Chris Kleiman had a pretty interesting comment this week about special teams, which of course were terrific. They've been great all season, but they were astoundingly good against Kansas on Saturday, especially Phillip Brooks returning the punts, 2 for a touchdown and more than 180 yards of punt return yardage. So tell us what he said, and it's kind of telling that he was this open and honest about his feelings towards special teams, the evolution of that from North Dakota State to Kansas State.
Yeah, I loved his answer. It's what he said after the KU game last week, when somebody, I don't remember who, just basically asked, you know what, coming to North Dakota State, you weren't really known for special teams at all, and now you come in here and through 5 games, you got 3 blocked punts, a blocked field goal, 2 punt returns for a touchdown. Seems like every single game they've won, you can point to a special teams play and say that was a huge factor. It's a reason they won. If you took those plays away from this team, they certainly wouldn't be where they are right now. So, what is it about the last 2 years that have taught you to really embrace special teams and put a lot of effort into it? I was kind of expecting him to say something along the lines of that, that Kansas State's always been good at it. Bill Snyder was good at it. Sean Snyder was good at it. And, their nickname has been Special Teams U forever. So we just had this talent lying around. We might as well use it. But that's not really what he said. He had a very enlightening answer about how when he was at North Dakota State, basically his teams were so much better than FCS competition. His thought on special teams was, let's just not let this get in the way of anything else. We, as long as special teams is just out there, kind of like an offensive lineman, not doing anything great, not doing anything bad. They're not noticeable. They're not losing games. I'm fine with that. That's pretty much his approach. Let's not take any risks. Let's let the offense and defense win these games for us. And then he gets to Kansas State and he sees, well, you know what? We're underdogs in these games. We don't have a big advantage on offense. We don't have a huge advantage on defense. So what else can we do to win the games? Let's put a lot of effort into special teams, and credit them for keeping Stanton Weber on as a former player and a former really good special teams player in his own right, as a quality control coach of that unit. Combine him with everybody else, all the other work they've done on staff. They found a really good way to turn that into an edge that's kind of an overlooked part of the game by some other coaching staffs. And Bill Snyder emphasized it. Chris Kleiman emphasized it. I guess that's just if you want to win at Kansas State, that's something you got to do.
And you made the point in your story that they didn't keep Sean Snyder, right? The special teams coach, who obviously Bill's son, who had done a great job coordinating special teams, and he went off. He wasn't retained by the staff, so.
Right. And he's the special teams coordinator at USC right now. So clearly, once he looked elsewhere, there were suitors. But it is definitely surprising that they could go from the old staff had one of the better special teams coordinator in the country looking over that unit every single minute of every single day, and they could mix things up and still produce these kind of results. I guess it just kind of goes to show that there's not just one way to do things.
All right. Hey, let me go back and clean up something I said earlier that we were talking about Dagey, the quarterback at West Virginia. I called him Seth. Seth is Jarrett's older brother. And Jarrett Dagey, of course, is the quarterback at West Virginia. Seth is the older brother who was coached by Neil Brown at Texas Tech back almost a decade ago. So the Dageys have certainly a strong connection with Neil Brown. So, all right, hey Kellis, let's before we finish, let's spend a moment, because that's probably all it deserves at this point, talking K-State basketball. And the preseason poll came out this week, Big 12 preseason poll, and you had to start at the bottom and you didn't have to look up far to find Kansas State. So from a program that won the conference championship 2 years ago to being picked 10th and last in the Big 12, that's quite a drop for the Wildcats.
It really is, and sadly, it wasn't very surprising. You could maybe argue that Iowa State or TCU should be last just because they lost a lot of players and have a lot of turnover as well. But that's really the only thing that's really the only reason you could say K-State shouldn't be picked last, is that other teams might be slightly worse because they finished last season in the Big 12 standings. They lost 9 players. Mike McGurl is their only senior scholarship player on the roster. So they do have a good recruiting class coming in. They're certainly capable of surprising and not finishing 10th in the conference standings, but they're going to have to earn their respect because they're starting at the bottom. And I guess I was slightly surprised after I put that out there on Twitter. I expected to see, some disgruntled K-State fans saying Big 12 coaches hate us. But for the most part, it was, there's nothing else to expect right now. I did see one person go out of their way and say he predicted a 4th place finish from Kansas State, which if that happens, kudos to him. I don't see it. But, it's been interesting. I think most people understand the situation right now. They got some work to do.
Yeah, Bruce Weber will be coach of the year, maybe nationally, if they finish 4th this season. So
definitely.
All right, Kellis, great talking to you, and we will catch up again next week.
All right, thanks, Blair. Always a pleasure.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners: unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. Gary Bedore covers KU for the Star and the Wichita Eagle. Gary, how you doing today?
Fine, thanks. I'm doing well. Nice day and ready to go for the weekend.
Yeah, and the weekend includes a Kansas football game against visiting Iowa State. The Cyclones are in the polls, and they've had an interesting season. They lost, like Kansas, to a Sun Belt team in its first game. The Cyclones lost to Louisiana Lafayette. Then they won 3 in a row, including a victory over Oklahoma. And then they're coming off a loss to Oklahoma State in a competitive game. So I believe the Cyclones are a big favorite in this one, though, right? What's the line?
Yeah, I think it's 28.5 between that and 28. So they're expecting another blowout. KU's lost 5 games by an average of 30 points a game.
Gosh, wow,
Yeah.
Wow. And maybe it's because of the way that they lost in Manhattan last weekend that Jeff Long, the athletic director, felt compelled to come on the weekly radio program and preach patience with the fan base. What did you make of what Jeff Long said?
Well, it was pretty amazing because I had heard that unlike the Bill Self show, which always has newsworthy stuff, that Jeff Long's show usually Les Miles' show usually doesn't, and I was about ready to not listen to it for the first time this year, and I had it on anyway in the car, and Jeff Long was on. He spoke for 8 minutes about the football program, and it was kind of like addressed to the donors and the fans, but he said repeatedly that they were going to do it the right way, and that means, in his eyes, to recruit high school players. He listed, some of the stats about, or some of the guys that have already contributed that are young, and in Les Miles' first 2 recruiting classes. But he stressed patience. They've only won 3 games so far under Miles in a season and a half. And he just said in the past, when coaches struggle a little bit, they load up on JUCOs. He said he's communicated to Les Miles that they'll stay the course. He doesn't want that. he told the chancellor that when the AD got hired, Jeff Long, he told the chancellor in football they were going to do it the right way, and it might take 3, 4, 5 years. Jeff Long said to the fans. So it was a long speech. It was pretty interesting, and it was your basic vote of confidence type thing without the coach being in trouble. They're not going to. The coach isn't on the hot seat, but it was that type of a vote of confidence speech to the fans. And, they still need money at KU, and I don't know how much the donors will give to football until they start seeing something on the field. So
right, they need to see some results or in progress, right? And you just don't see much of it you don't see the competitiveness, and maybe it's because Kansas is low on numbers and big on inexperienced players. You mentioned in your story this week that 4 true freshmen have started for the Jayhawks, including Jalen Daniels, the quarterback, and now Daniel Hishaw, the backup, he's the backup running back, right? Yeah. So, and Prutney, I don't know if that's how he pronounces it. Is it Karan Prutney?
Yeah, I think it's Prunty, but
Prunty. Okay, yeah, Prunty. So, yeah, defensive player. So, they are. Look, they're young. Their numbers are down. It is going to take a while to get this built back up. David Beatty did recruit junior college guys pretty heavily in his final year at KU, and Charlie Weiss did the same thing several years before him, and went out with a lot of JUCO players. And so Kansas is, they've been through that revolving door without success. And I agree with Jeff Long that recruiting, having good high school classes year after year is the only way to build back the program. Yeah. The question to me becomes, are the classes good enough? Will they be, in 2 years, maybe in 2021, 2022, will he have enough talent, and are these classes good enough to compete in the Big 12? Because if they're not, then good gosh, I don't know where Kansas football is. If this doesn't work, and then I don't know if there's any hope for KU football.
Yeah, Jeff Long did issue one little side addition to this. He mentioned the new transfer rule, not JUCO, but starting this year, you can leave a Division I school, go to another one, and not have to sit out. So I would think Jeff Long didn't mean a wholesale addition of those guys, but maybe if the linemen, are not showing any progress, offensive line, which is killing them, maybe 1 or 2 there, and maybe a quarterback, since I know they're high on Jalen Daniels, but I still think there could be some competition there if they brought in a great guy. But that was interesting a little bit because he had stressed high school so much the other night that he did mention not graduate transfers, but this new transfer rule. So I think Kansas would take maybe 1, 2, 3 of them. They didn't mention numbers, but that could maybe help somewhere.
Right. And I like to think that if you're a Kansas fan, you understand that you're not going to get the results this year that you'd hoped or wished for, but you want to see some sign of progress, and you want to see a competitive game. Maybe it'll happen Saturday against Iowa State. Maybe it'll come later in the season. Who knows? But you just want to see some sign of progress, and there's just been little of that to happen this year. Hey, let's switch it over and talk hoops, Gary. The Big 12 preseason poll out this week, and Kansas ain't number one. Interesting, but I think that's probably the national perspective as well. That Baylor is the Big 12 favorite. What did you think of that?
Yeah. Okay, you got 3 first place votes. Baylor got the rest. So you can't vote for your own team. So Scott Drew voted for KU, I'm sure. Bill Self voted
and Bill
for
Bill
Baylor.
for Baylor.
So that means two coaches still think Bill and the Jayhawks will win the league. Probably Huggins. I know Self and Bill are really close, but it's interesting. Baylor with Butler coming back and some other guys is going to be great. And Baylor, I believe, has with this COVID year has scheduled really difficult non-conference. I forget who they play right now, but they play.
I know Gonzaga is one. I think Gonzaga is one of them.
Yeah,
that they've added.
Gonzaga, which now KU plays Gonzaga in the opener. I guess they haven't officially announced it, but things are getting switched for the season opener. It was going to be Boise State in Florida. Now they're moving to Fort Myers instead of Orlando to play Gonzaga and St. Joe's, I believe. But I guess I would, after just seeing KU win league all the time and last year how Baylor was off to the great start and then KU stormed past them when Baylor did indeed, would they lose 3 out of 4 or something? I probably, being that I think that way, I probably would have voted for KU just because they always do it. Now that one year they didn't after 14 in a row, but on paper, Baylor, I would think for sure. The league's going to be pretty tough. Everybody's saying it's going to be very tough this year. So
I think so too, and that's with
Tech, West Virginia. So
yeah,
Baylor,
I think Texas will be good this year.
Yeah, Greg Brown coming in.
Yeah, I think 6 or 7 NCAA tournament teams. If for the Big 12, like what we've seen in their number 1 RPI years. So we'll see, but it's understandable where the feeling on KU. They lose Azubuike, Devon Dodson, and of course Marcus Garrett is back. Ochai's back. There's some obviously great talent coming back for Kansas, but okay. Once in a while, I think if you're Kansas to be considered the hunter and not the hunted. I don't imagine Bill Self will disagree with this poll and probably not mind it.
No, as you know, coaches like to use the hunter thing.
Yeah,
Kansas is always the one on top. And this year, with only 1,500 fans per home game, Kansas is not going to have that kind of advantage. Where if they fall behind by 15, they're going to come back in Allen Fieldhouse. But now, very few fans. Same when the Jayhawks go on the road, though. But that's going to be really crazy about this season. Also, if one person in Tier 1, managers, coaches, players, is positive for COVID, the teams have to sit out 14 days. So everybody's thinking with the predicted spike that this could be a really bizarre season because 14 days is a long time.
Yeah, in college basketball, it's 4 or 5 games. I mean, it's
in the Big 12 season too. It could really cause problems. So let's just
which is going to start early too, right? In the Big 12 season, going to start in mid-December.
Yeah, so KU has to open with Texas Tech and West Virginia. That's two toughies. I believe it's Tech at home and at West Virginia. Or it might be vice versa. It might be, yeah. But in December, like you said, in mid-December. So
earlier than ever, right? Yeah. So I want to next couple of weeks we'll get into basketball in a bigger way, and the image of 1,500 people in Allen Fieldhouse. I mean, that's crazy to me for a men's basketball game. It's one of the great venues, and not just in college basketball, but in all of sports. And just to see it, almost empty, that's going to be jolting, I think, for a lot of people. So, yeah, we'll get into that in a bigger way, Gary, next week or the week after. But, hey, thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks.
That'll do it for today, and it wraps up the week on SportsBeat KC. Thanks to our production staff of Derek Donovan, Randy Mason, Beth Welsh, Jeff Rosen, Chris Fickett, and Savannah Smith. A tip of the cap to Kellis Robinett and Gary Bedore for stopping by and talking K-State and KU sports. Their stories can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Hey, we got another deal for you. For a limited time, you can subscribe to Sports Pass for 99 cents a month. That's right, 99 pennies a month. After 3 months, it auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless you cancel. How do you get it? You go to kansascity.com/sportspass2020. That's kansascity.com/sportspass2020. You want more than sports coverage? I know I do. Check out the entire Kansas City Star product. Sports, news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional news, sports, and business coverage that comes with the e-edition. The details for all of these deals can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. I know that's a lot of dots and dashes, and if you're having trouble hunting down any of these offers, just send me an email at bkerkhoff@kcstar.com and I'll get you to the right place. Whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. We'll be back on Monday to break down the Chiefs-Jets game. Thanks for listening.